Bulking if you're skinny fat can be a bit of a minefield of knowing what to do. Some people tell you that gaining muscle is going to be the best way because the more muscle you gain, the easier it is to cut at the end of it, which there is a lot of truth to that, definitely. But that begs the question, are you willing to eat loads of food, get fatter from where you are right now, and basically look worse for a substantial amount of time? You know, you should be bulking for a good 6-9 months, maybe even a year, depending on how much size you want to add. By the end of it, you're going to be pretty chunky and have a big old cut waiting for you. And if you're skinny by default, like a skinny, thin physique, when you go on that cut, you're likely to lose a lot of muscle. Everyone loses a little bit of muscle on their cut. So if you're starting with a lot more fat than you want, that cut's got to last a lot longer and you're likely to lose a lot of that muscle. And if you're making mistakes along the way, you can lose even more muscle. And I'm speaking from experience. I have done this twice, believe it or not. I'll put a few photos up just to sort of show you what my physiques look like in between these, you know, messed up bulks and cuts. So if you're not going to go straight on a bulk, and if you're skinny fat, then what should you do? Then it kind of leans towards, well, should you go onto a cut and lose all this body fat, but risk getting smaller and avoid gaining muscle throughout the whole process and basically get even more skinny? And how long is it going to take you to shift that body fat? Because you're basically starting with the stubborn body fat. So it's a bit of a tricky minefield, and I suppose that's why it took me so long to get in shape myself. And that's why a lot of people are searching YouTube trying to find information to help fix this issue. So because you've clicked on this video, I assume you're skinny fat, and just to explain who I am and what I do and why you should even listen to what I have to say, because there is a lot of good advice out there. I will be honest, that's one good thing about nowadays. There is some really good advice out there now. I've helped over 100 skinny fat men lose the body fat and gain muscle within 6 months to a year, sometimes longer. I'm not going to bullshit you. And I've learned a lot about that process myself. From the age of 14 up until now, which I'm 32, I've struggled to build muscle and lose body fat and keep it lean. And it's taken me all the way up to the age of about 21, 22 before I actually started to see some significant results. So you're talking 6 to 7 years making mistakes, figuring out what needs to be done, and sort of putting together, I hate saying the word system because it sounds so fluffy and bullshit, but you know, I've basically broken it down to 4 simple steps that works really well for skinny fat men. And that's why I'm making this video, to pass it on to you, because this is the kind of video that I wish I could have found a few years ago. Well, I say a few years ago, quite a long time ago, right? Now I put up on the screen kind of some of the people that I've actually helped lose body fat and gain muscle. The majority of these have managed to gain muscle whilst being in a calorie deficit. Now, before you start screaming in the comments, because I would have done that, you do need to be in a surplus to gain muscle, which is something that took me a long time to learn. I thought, you know, hey, follow this muscle building workout plan, and you follow it and where's the muscle, mate? Because you're not eating enough food to grow, right? So you do need to be in a calorie surplus to gain muscle. That is a fact. However, if you are relatively new to the gym, you know, maybe been training less than a year or two, then you can still gain muscle in a calorie deficit, purely just down to the adaptation in the gym and the fact you've got stored body fat. And if you get your calories and macronutrients right with your training being really spot on, you can still gain muscle in a calorie deficit. If you've been training for 5, 6, 7 years and you're struggling to gain muscle, then you're probably not likely to gain muscle in a calorie deficit. And if your second time, maybe you've already gained muscle and you're trying to do it again, you're on your second cut and you're trying to gain muscle on your second cut, probably not going to happen. But if you're brand new or early stages, or you haven't built a physique yet, you absolutely can still build muscle in a calorie deficit. Like these photos I've just popped up on the screen, these have all been in a calorie deficit and they've gained muscle. Now you're probably thinking, well, how is that even true? How is that correct? What are you trying to talk about? Where are you going with this? So like I said, I've broken this skinny fat thing into 4 phases, because the end goal is essentially you're going from being skinny fat, lack of muscle, high body fat, and you want to go to bigger, more muscular, but still lean, right? That journey can look different for each person depending on their genetics and how, you know, what their lifestyle is like, if they can even stick to it. But let me just be really simple with this. You're going to want to start with a cut, okay? And you're probably thinking, that's crazy. What do you mean? You just said if you're going to cut, you're going to lose loads of muscle. When I say cut, I mean a small cut, a lean cut, if you want to call it that way, or I just refer to it as a body recomposition. Now let me explain this, because I want to make sure this video is clear and to the point and actually helpful for you. We want to be in a calorie deficit because we need to lose body fat, but we don't want that calorie deficit to be absolutely huge that we start to lose muscle tissue, feel like shit, and basically burn the candle at both ends and cave in and binge all the food that you've been trying to avoid. Now, the reason we want a smaller calorie deficit is if you're somewhere between like a 500 calorie deficit below your maintenance, you're likely to lose about a pound fat per week, right? This is quite common knowledge now, which is great. That's all you need. That is all you need, a 500 calorie deficit. You know, you might think, oh, well, what if I go for 1,000? Will I lose 2 pounds? Yeah, you might. But will that 2 pounds be pure fat loss? Not likely. You might start losing muscle tissue. Now, this is definitely dependent on genetics, but let's be real. A skinny fat physique is kind of down to genetics as well. And of course, lifestyle. So if you're skinny fat, you're likely not to hold on to muscle very easily. So going for a 500 calorie deficit is going to be a really good start. I would pick a 500 calorie deficit and make sure that your protein is really high. Now, if you're struggling to know these numbers, again, this video is here to help you. So I've got a free nutritional blueprint in the bio. Don't cost any bunny. It's just, here's the equation that I use. Here's how to adjust it based on your body type and genetics. Here's the macros I recommend. Here's how I'd adjust it over time. And I put that together after doing this for about 16 years now. So I've just kind of cut all the fluff out. Here's the equation, use that. So if you're struggling to know your numbers, or you just want to make sure that they're done properly, you can download that for free. If you really struggle, you can message me on my Instagram at Elite Transformation Project. Anyway, we want a 500 calorie deficit. That also means that because your deficit is not crazy high, you can still perform well in the gym. You're still eating enough to recover, and you should avoid going catabolic and losing muscle tissue, which means if you're quite new to the gym and you're progressively overloading in the gym and capitalizing on your newbie gains, you can still gain a significant amount of muscle. Client Reese, I always talk about Reese because he is literally, if you asked AI and said, hey, show me a perfect recomposition, fix skinny fat in 12 months, bosh, that's going to pop up, even though it's not AI. Anyway, he was able to gain a significant amount of muscle being in the calorie deficit, training in a certain way. So that was just a full recomposition. There was no bulk involved with this. That was a pure calorie deficit for 12 months. And he lost all his body fat and gained a lot of muscle. So you can do it. Same with Matt. He was able to lose his belly, gain a little bit of muscle around his arms. And even my client Leon, who was able to gain significant muscle in just 11 weeks whilst he lost body fat. And he actually kind of didn't really have any newbie gains left. He'd been training for a long time. So, just by paying attention to your numbers a little bit more, you'd be surprised how much more progress you've been leaving on the table. So get your free nutritional blueprint, know your numbers, or just use an online calculator. As long as you have some baseline of numbers to work with, you're off to a really good start. And most people don't even pay attention to their calories. So if you take anything away from this video, please know your numbers, because it will fix and save a shite load of time. To be honest with you, that's why it took me well over 6 years to get anywhere, because I wasn't paying attention to the numbers. I was just eating chicken, broccoli and rice, having the protein shakes, having the gainer shakes, taking pre-workout because I thought that did something, even though it's just glorified caffeine. I just didn't really get anywhere. I did creatine as well, and creatine does work, but if your numbers aren't right with your nutrition and training, it's not really going to do that much. So get the basics done first. Get those numbers first. Now, obviously, you're clicking this because you want to gain muscle, right? So why am I starting off talking about a cut? Now, I've worked with clients where they've come to me semi-skinny fat, and they've said, hey, dude, I just want to gain muscle. Let's go. So we get them in a surplus. They start growing. They start seeing some size. The training's going really well. They're really happy, but they look at their photos and they're like, I still don't like this move bit here. And, double chin's coming in a little bit rapid. And, my lower back fat is kind of not getting anywhere. It's kind of getting bigger. And it's like, well, yeah, you're in a surplus. You're going to gain a little bit of body fat. So I find that most men, they want to gain size, but as soon as they start to see the body fat go up, they're not happy. So I always recommend 90% of the time, to be honest with you, start with a calorie deficit, a small one, a recomposition, lose the body fat, maximize your potential growth in the gym via strength training and tracking your reps and weights and trying to go for a little bit more muscle hypertrophy. You'd be surprised what you can achieve. So let's say you've done the first part properly, right? You've done the recomposition, you've lost the body fat, you hit your calorie deficit, you've been training really well, you kept your protein high, and you've lost body fat, you gain a little bit of muscle, but now it's time to really start packing on the size, because if you're skinny fat, you're going to want to add significant size. And if you're starting off with little muscles like I did, you're going to have to do one hell of a bulk to really build some significant size anyway. And you're not going to do it in the first bulk. You can't just gain, 50, 60 pounds of muscle in one bulk unless you're taking something special, which we're not doing over here. So once you've gotten super lean and we've done that sort of first phase that I mentioned about a recomposition, we then want to focus on going onto a reverse diet. And this is exactly what it says on the tin. You're basically slowly increasing your calories back up to your new maintenance. Now you've gained muscle and you've lost body fat and you're as lean as you need to be, you can then build up your calories to your new maintenance number, right? So you want to basically use the nutritional blueprint, recalculate your numbers, and you'll know what your maintenance is at that point. And to be honest with you, if you're training really hard and you're tracking your workouts, you can probably add some reps and weight whilst you're putting in these extra calories. So you can still gain a little bit of muscle on the way up, or at least feel like it, because you're adding more calories and you're going to feel thicker and fuller. Once you've reached this maintenance, you then want to add a small calorie surplus, right? I know everyone says eat big to get big, right, babe? And trust me, that was my mantra from the age of 14 to about 22. And I didn't really get big, right? And I did gain body fat. So the more calories does not mean the more muscle. To a degree, maybe, yeah. If you're burning too many calories, yeah. But if you're factually in a 500 calorie surplus every single day, you're going to be optimizing for muscle growth, but also keeping the body fat as low as it can be. If you're in 1,000 calorie, 2,000 calorie deficit, like some people do, they go on bulk, I need to eat loads, and they just eat loads of fucking donuts. They pull out their pocket, bosh, biscuits before bed. I used to do that, to be fair. Guess what? You're going to gain body fat a lot faster than you're going to gain muscle. And then the bulk is going to be short-lived, because within a few months, you're going to start seeing all those areas you just worked your ass off getting rid of come back and get worse. And you're not going to feel as good, right? And you're just going to knock your confidence, and you're going to think, oh man, maybe I should go back on a cut. And then if you've only bulked for 3-4 months, you're not really gaining significant muscle. You then got to spend, 3-4 months dropping that body fat back off. And you kind of yo-yo and get stuck in what I call the bro cycle of bulk cut, bulk cut, bulk cut. You want to finish the job each time. And again, I'm talking from experience. I have made these mistakes. I've tried gaining muscle and gained body fat and then gone on a cut, panicking, and then realized I lost all the muscle and didn't really look very good, and I made a lot of mistakes, and that's why I'm making these videos. I've had clients that have come to me, like my client Avi over here. He's got an amazing physique. He at the start had been doing that bro cycle. He'd go on a bulk, see a bit of body fat, go, nah, I don't like this, go on a cut, oh, I feel small and tiny and my performance in the gym's rubbish, and they're not as strong as anymore, you know, if you know, you know. And then it's like, cool, right, well, stick to one, finish it and do it right. Get on a cut, get as lean as possible, reverse diet, keep it lean on the way up. You can bulk for a lot longer if you're starting off as lean as possible. And if you keep it lean throughout, instead of doing 3-4 months bulk and basically getting fat and not liking it, you can bulk for 9 months, 12 months, as long as you need, really. And if you keep the body fat as low as possible, you're growing and growing and growing and growing, adding muscle, and you're going to have to increase those calories over time as you gain muscle. Don't get me wrong, you got to increase the food. You will have to eat more over time. But just yeeting yourself straight into 4,000, 5,000 calories like dickhead did over in the past, you're just going to get fat. And that's why people get stuck in that cycle. And then here's the evolution, isn't it? I'm sure you've seen this, and maybe you've been through this. You get fat, you think, oh, I'll just be a power lifter then. I'll just lift weights, power belly, right? And then, you know, a year goes by, you think, fuck, why have I done this? I've seen it all the time. I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've been helping people with it for a very long time. And I've got a lot of friends that started at the same time as me, around like sort of 14 years old. And, you know, they got their big old beer bellies and like, yeah, powerlifting, mate. Yeah. I just deadlift every day. And it's like, nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But if you're skinny fat and you want to build muscle, you don't want to fall down that rabbit hole, right? You don't want to fall for that trap. So this bulk's got to be lean. A small calorie surplus. You might even be able to get away with a 250 calorie surplus, which I would probably say is a bit low, because if you're off or miss something, or you do a bit of extra workouts here and there, or you go for a walk, you might spend those calories. So 500 calorie surplus, aim for half a pound to a pound increase on each week, and you're golden. And if that starts to slow down, or you feel like you're getting really rapidly hungry, add some calories, add another 250. Build it up gradually instead of just jump into these numbers and gain all the body fat you don't need. And then bulk as long as you can. And if you do it that way, you've gotten lean, you've gained strength, you gain muscle, you're building up muscle, you're keeping it lean throughout, and then you end up with this bigger, stronger, leaner physique, which is what everyone's working towards. It's really that simple. Now, I know I've kind of glossed over the details, because, you know, you can't just condense every single possible metric possible in a video without you getting into like a weird sciencey video where you're breaking down all these things. I'll leave that to Jeff. You know, it really is as simple as just managing your numbers, getting them right, and then making sure that your training is specific to you. So those 4 phases I mentioned, if I was to really simplify them, it's basically get lean, improve your training and overload metrics in the gym to optimize your physique's potential natural growth, go on a lean bulk, and then dial it back to sort of bulletproof and lock it in. So you've got high maintenance, lean body, lots of muscle, and you can repeat those cycles. It's basically like doing a cut and a bulk, instead of going extreme, like dropping the calories down, doing loads of cardio and losing all this muscle and getting skinny, and then jumping right into the pizzas and going for 4,000, 5,000 calories and deadlifting every day. You build your way in between each phase and keep it simple. But also, as I mentioned just now, you need to be very specific with your training. I'm not a big fan of downloading all these kind of influencer training programs, because a lot of times they're just made to look flashy to give you a reason to buy it. Now, I have bought a lot of these in the past, and you know, they're a lot of fun, right? I won't drop names because I don't want to try and taint anyone with a bad brush, but I've bought some plans before. They'd be like 25 exercises per workout, and you add up the time, the workout's going to take you 2.5 hours, and it's extreme volume. And the workout plan is great, don't get me wrong, but you're not going to be able to stick to that every single, you know, let's say that workout's on a Tuesday, you're going to have 2.5 hours to spare, not including commute times, every Tuesday to be in the gym and use every bit of equipment for like 5 sets per movement. It's just not realistic nor sustainable. The influencer can do it because that's their job, and it might be the most optimal plan in the world, great, but if you work a busy job and you've got kids to look after and you've got all this stuff going on, you can't do that. And that's why a lot of people think they can't get in shape. They think, damn, I'm too busy, it's not for me. Whereas in reality, the client transformations I show you, you won't believe how busy some of these guys are, and most of them, their workouts are 30 minutes, 45 minutes tops. They don't need longer than an hour, unless they want it, unless they want to be in the gym and have a nice bit of time for themselves and focus on a compound lift, because you can. Point being is, if the numbers are right and the training is right and you make some tweaks along the way, it's really simple and you can fix that skinny fat physique. And when I talk about the training program being specific to you, what I'm referring to is more biomechanics, your body type, your starting point, your ability level, your goals. I'll use myself as a quick example. I've got quite long arms for my height. I'm not that tall. I've got long arms, which means my pushing movements, biomechanically speaking, are a bit crap. And as a result, my chest is very underdeveloped. So my shoulders are decent, my traps are decent, but my chest is crap. So my training routine has a lot of volume for chest, a lot of specificity for chest movements, and a little bit more unorthodox, you know, angles and movements to try and build up the weak areas of my chest. Whereas, say, you know, I've got a friend who's the complete opposite. He's got shorter arms, broad shoulders, massive chest, looks like Arnold's chest, got great arms, but his traps and shoulders are his weak point. So his workout routine is going to look very different to mine. If we both followed the same workout routine, like a generic workout routine, we'd probably both go backwards, right? We build up our strong pet areas. I'll end up with bigger traps and no arms, and he'd end up with just arms and chest. Do you know what I mean? So you've got to be specific for your goals, and that's something you'll learn over time. You'll train, follow a basic routine, you'll figure out what areas are lacking, and then you can start building up more focus points on those weak areas. That's another reason why I'm not a fan of generic programs, because people will follow like an upper lower split or this influencer's shoulder workout, and they've just put it together because they've got a big audience, so they've got to give their audience something. But is that what they've done? Probably not. A lot of them are born with those areas being a strong point. They could do, you know, a bunch of push-ups, and like if someone's got a big chest and they do a few push-ups, their chest is going to look better and respond really well. Whereas if you've got basically like an a xylophone for a chest like me. If I do push-up, nothing's going to happen. Nothing. And it didn't for years, right? So you got to work, you got to focus on your weak points and build them up with specificity. So if you're going from skinny fat trying to gain muscle, get lean first, keep it lean on the way up and focus on those weak areas. And by the end of it, you'll have one hell of a physique. Now, I hope this video is as helpful as it can be. If there's anything I can help you with, please drop it in the comments. If you would like some hands-on one-to-one help with someone that's actually helped over 100 men fix the skinny fat physique, drop body fat and gain muscle, regardless of how busy they are and what their appetite is like, you can book a call with me in the link in the bio. If there's spaces, that link might not be there if there's no spaces, but given the time of year, there should be some spaces because it is January when I upload this. Make sure you download your free nutritional blueprint if you want some help with that. And you can follow me on Instagram at Elite Transformation Project. Feel free to drop me a DM if you've got any questions. Like and subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. And bottom line is, mate, have a great year. Have an amazing 2025. Make this the year that you ain't skinny fat, that you're super jacked instead. Have a great one.